Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our virtual fall DVC Town Hall. My name is Nathan Skalski. I work in public affairs here at UBCO, and it is a great pleasure to see so many of you logging in with us this morning, about 215 so far, as a few more are just coming in. Let me begin by quickly going over the format for this morning's event. We'll begin with remarks from our Deputy Vice-Chancellor, followed by a Q&A session with the DVC and a panel of from our campus's executive team. Following the Q&A, we'll move into the Staff Awards of Excellence ceremony. We will open the Q&A session to questions from the audience using the Q&A function at the bottom of your window. You can ask your question at any time, and others in the audience can vote for the questions that they like the best. We'll do our best to cover as many of the highest voted questions as we can once we get to the Q&A portion. With that, it is my great honor to invite the new Deputy Vice-Chancellor of UBC and Principal of our campus, Professor Lesley Cormack, for her very first fall campus update.
Thank you very much, Nathan. Good morning, everyone. It is such a delight to be here, although I would much rather that we were all together in person and that I could meet you in a much more face-to-face venue. My name is Lesley Cormack, and since July, I've had the great privilege to be serving as the Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Principal here at UBC's extraordinary Okanagan campus. Before we begin today's events, I want to acknowledge that UBC Okanagan is situated in the territory of the Syilx Okanagan Nation and its peoples, and of course to acknowledge that you are probably joining us today from many places near and far, and to acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. I do think it's important as we think about these kind of acknowledgements that they are real acknowledgements and that we acknowledge our partnership, our need to work together on the path of reconciliation. And I hope we all think about that every time we hear these acknowledgements. I'm excited to be here at UBC and to be part of this young and dynamic Okanagan campus learning community. Of course, I'm, as you can imagine, still working to get to know the university and the people here. Given the COVID situation, this process has been, well, just a little different than I had anticipated, that's for sure. And I'm very thankful for the warm reception, the warm welcome that I have received, even as we're all working from home and trying to figure out what that looks like. I know you have a lot of questions about how we're working together and how we will be working together as the term progresses, given all the big challenges that have come about with COVID. And I welcome this opportunity to address some of them in this upcoming panel Q&A. I think this is a really good format for us to start the year in a good way. So I'm looking forward to this. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, since many of you have not really seen me at all. Before joining UBC Okanagan, I was the Dean of the Faculty of Arts at the University of Alberta for the last 10 years. I'm a historian of science, and before that I was the chair of my department, so I have a long history in the trenches, as it were, but also in academic leadership. It's been a pretty intense time to finish as a dean, as you can well imagine. But when I look back, some of the accomplishments from my time as dean that I'm particularly proud of include a real decision to take seriously reconciliation and the TRC recommendations. I increased Indigenous student enrollment in the Faculty of Arts by 100% in the time that I was dean, and we hired 14 new Indigenous faculty members, and which I think is going to be really a game changer in terms of that faculty. I also worked really hard to enhance our support for research, particularly interdisciplinary research, and I'm really proud of some of the work that we did to develop partnerships both within the faculty and across faculty and between the university and community. And I also worked hard to support experiential learning. I started a program in co-op, and we really worked well and hard to develop partnerships throughout the community and beyond, so that students really had an opportunity to put their learning to work and to work in that collaborative way with the community. Of course, my final 4 months were intense. I think I've never worked harder than I did in those final 4 months. And I know therefore just how hard you've all been working too, because of course of that pivot in March where we had to really all work together to manage the outset of the pandemic. And we're all managing issues that I know you're very familiar with, including that rapid move to online instruction. I mean, I still am in awe of how fast we were all able to pivot and still deliver the end of term to our students. And I think it's a real testament to the great care and attention that instructors and staff have for students, and the ability for students to be flexible and move forward as well. And of course, we had to curtail on-campus research activities, manage uncertain financial resources. All of this will not be news to you, but it was very intense. So now I turn, what excites me about being part of UBC and leading this Okanagan campus? Well, there's no doubt that the ambition and audaciousness, if you will, of the 2040 plan really attracted me. I'm so excited to be at a campus that I think is optimistic and forward-looking, that we have a plan, and it's not just a pipe dream, it's a plan with real possibility of succeeding, and a lot of people really keen to do so. So I'm of course really excited by that wonderful combination of the great research and teaching mission of UBC, a storied and historic university, combined with this wonderful purpose-built, research-intensive campus that has a strong community-based outlook and support, community support, which is amazing. And in fact, the deep connections with the local community, including a truly remarkable relationship with local Indigenous communities and leadership. I think there's nowhere else in Canada that has the opportunities to work hand in hand with our Indigenous colleagues to really change the way that post-secondary thinks about that relationship. I know it's been a very difficult time for everyone over these last few months, as you've had to step away from our previous day-to-day routines and having to adapt to new ways of doing things. We're facing big challenges, there's no doubt about that, but I've been so impressed in my first few months on the job, seeing how this campus community has adapted and developed a really positive, forward-looking outlook that I do not underestimate how amazing that is. I know many of you are just like, well, that's what we have to do, and that's amazing. But I want to thank you for that and to say it is noticed. It is really noticed. Indeed, your collective commitment to our students, to your research and scholarship, to our facilities and operations, and to the mission of the university has been on full display for everyone to see. So thank you so much for that. I really do want to thank you all for working so hard to get us ready for the start of this academic year. It's a truly incredible effort, and I am grateful to all of you. And I think we are ready. I mean, we can all imagine things that could happen, but I believe we are ready, so that's really exciting. Whether you're preparing to lead online classes, plan virtual student orientation events, get the necessary IT infrastructure in place, or get entirely new faculties up and running, thank you so much for everything you're doing to make this year special. So we have a number of new faces on campus, not just mine. So amidst all the changes that are taking place on campus, we have the good fortune to welcome some new people to new roles this summer. I've been delighted to see a number of new faculty and staff join the university over the last 2 months. So welcome to all of you. I actually went to the orientation of new staff the other day, so I met a few of you in Zoom person. The new faces among the leadership team include Peter Simpson, who began a new role at UBC on July 1st, beginning a 5-year appointment as the Dean of the College of Graduate Studies. Dr. Simpson joins us from Western University, where he was the Associate Vice Provost for the School of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. Welcome, Peter. Also effective July 1st, Rahan Sadiq's appointment as Executive Associate Dean of the School of Engineering has been extended by 5 years. Congratulations, Rahan. Adrian Vadan, Director of Aboriginal Programs and Services, was appointed Senior Advisor to the Deputy Vice-Chancellor on Indigenous Affairs, also effective July 1st. The Senior Advisor position was created as one of UBC Okanagan's Truth and Reconciliation commitments, and I'm so thankful for Adrian to have her step into this critically important role. We've already been working really well together, so that's really exciting. Congratulations are also in order for Adrian. This morning, it was announced that she received the President's Service Award for Excellence for her work as the Director of Aboriginal Programs and Services. Adrian is really paving the way for Indigenous learning, opportunities, and connections at UBCO, and the impact is felt widely across UBC and the wider community. This is so richly deserved. Congratulations, Adrian. As I referenced earlier, we have 2 new faculties at UBC Okanagan, the Irving K. Barber Faculty of Science, and now my academic home as a professor of history, the Irving K. Barber Faculty of Arts and Social Science. Last month, the Board of Governors approved Professor Gino Delabio's appointment as the inaugural Dean of the Faculty of Science, effective September 1st. Congratulations, Gino. And earlier this month, our Provost and Vice President Academic, Ananya Mukherjee-Reed, announced that Professor Bryce Treitzer has accepted the position of Dean Pro Tem of the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, in addition to his current role as Dean, Faculty of Creative and Critical Studies. Thank you, Bryce, for taking that on. A big welcome goes to our new Associate Vice President students, Dale Mullings, who is on this call, so that's amazing, who took up his new role on September 1st, so he really is starting with a bang. Dale comes to UBC from the University of Toronto, Mississauga, where he served as Assistant Dean, Students and International Initiatives since 2013. Congratulations and welcome to UBC, Dale. I really want to recognize Michelle Loughton, who served as interim AVP student since January, doing an amazing job in an incredibly challenging time. And she now resumes her role as Director of Student Development and Advising. Thank you, Michelle. We couldn't have made it through the summer without you, so thank you very much. I also want to welcome the newly appointed Director of Infrastructure Development, Erin Mogerman, coming to us from the Vancouver campus to support the various capital projects to help address some of our well-known issues of space, our space challenges. So he begins later this month. Tanya Forneris is also stepping into a new role as interim academic lead for the Center for Teaching and Learning. Congratulations, Tanya. And finally, gee, it really is quite a roster, isn't it? Finally, congratulations to our President and Vice Chancellor, Santa Ono, who was recently reappointed for a second term. I look forward to working with Santa and the members of the system executive team to face the challenges brought by COVID-19 and to help UBC continue on its path as one of the world's great research universities. For all the new faces on our campus, be they members of the executive team, recent faculty or student hires, or staff hires, or new students, it's, boy, is it an unusual time to be starting at our new university community. No matter who they are, I know we'll all be doing our best in the months ahead to help each other as we settle into our new academic year. One that promises to be very different from what any of us are used to in our academic lives. This really is going to be a test for all of us in a lot of ways. One of the things, just you know, because we don't have enough stress in our lives, one of the things that is happening, as many of you know, is that we are renewing the whole IT system. So something called the Integrated Renewal Program, or IRP, is on track to be implemented by November. So this continues to be a priority for UBC, and we're committed to a successful implementation of Workday in November. Workday is going to be great. It will better equip us to support the growing and evolving needs of our learning, research, and working environment. It will modernize and simplify the systems that support us, including removing a lot of paper-based processes and allowing us to work in the cloud from anywhere. That will be very exciting, especially good when we're all working virtually. So that's more important than ever. There are big changes, but rest assured, we have an excellent network in place to support us, including the Integrated Service Center, which will be the single point of contact for Workday-related questions. And I certainly encourage everyone to sign up for and take advantage of training opportunities. The successful implementation is going to require everyone's help, and so all of you on this town hall, it will affect all of you in some way or other, and getting training is really valuable and important. But after seeing how well this campus has adapted to the challenges that we've seen in the last 6 months, I know we can do this too. So I know it will be great, and we'll look back and realize just what a boon this has been for us. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about my priorities, recognizing, of course, that I'm very new here, and part of my priorities is just getting to know you and making sure that I am leading the change that you all are interested in as well. So this is what I'm thinking about for the moment, for the year ahead. I mean, obviously, the first priority that all of us share is to have a successful start to our teaching and research as we move through September and beyond. So really making sure that we are delivering excellent pedagogy and curriculum to our students, that we are supporting research, that we continue to have a vibrant community even as we do things remotely. The second big priority that I have is for us to work to fulfill the commitments of UBC's new Indigenous Strategic Plan. And just so you all know, it will be launched officially on September 14th, so that's very exciting. We've already been working hard on it, and I think it's going to be really a game changer in a lot of ways. And I also am looking forward to moving forward our exciting opportunities for new and long-needed teaching and research space, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a couple of minutes. More broadly, as the principal of UBC Okanagan, I'm really looking forward to building on the incredible progress and achievements of the past number of years. I think that the trajectory of UBCO is amazing and will continue to be amazing. So I hope that I will help that rather than somehow throw a spanner in the works. That's not my goal. I'm eager to help grow the campus, enhance our research capacity, and as I say, work towards the long-term ambitions that we all set out for ourselves in Outlook 2040. In support of this, I should note that the next major academic building planned for the campus, the ICI building, received Board 1 approval in June. So that's very exciting because, of course, at universities, nothing can proceed fast because we have to get various levels of approval. So this is really good, and it allows the design work to get underway. So we really are moving forward to the ICI, and we're really hoping that that will be finished in the not too distant future. I say as a 16th century historian, everything is fast. This is a much needed interdisciplinary academic building for the Okanagan campus, which will support learning, research, and other student activities. So it's going to be a multi-use interdisciplinary space that I think is going to be really powerful. I'm also really excited by the immense potential of UBC's downtown Kelowna presence following the announcement that was made in June of this year. And we're working hard to really flesh out what that looks like and what that will mean. So you will hear more about this in the months ahead. I think that also is going to be really exciting, and I think is a great partnership with the City of Kelowna. And I'm committed to renewing the university's partnership and commitments to the Okanagan Nation Alliance and its member communities on education and reconciliation. I think that's going to be a really important step to renew that commitment. So, you know, we're dreaming big as a campus. As I say, that was the thing that attracted me to all of you. But we're also facing unprecedented challenges as a university, as a country, and as a global community. I know you all have questions about how we're working to meet these challenges, and I'm really looking forward to the discussion during the Q&A. Our task is to take on each day's challenges with kindness, calmness, and safety, to borrow a now famous line, and to rely on the collective strength of our community to help us carry through to resolution of these challenges. From everything I have seen so far here at UBC Okanagan, I know we are up to the task. I want to thank you for all that you've done and all you are going to do, especially in the weeks to come, but as we move through this next year. I look forward to meeting as many of you as I can, even if only virtually to start with. And, you know, I know we will all meet again. I know that we will come out the other side of this. We will not look the same. Things will have changed, but we will prevail and we will be nothing but strengthened. So thank you, and let's work together to make that happen.
Thank you very much, Lesley. So I'll actually ask the rest of the panel now to please turn on your camera so we can all see who we're dealing with. So as the panel does that, let me just do a little bit of introduction on the panel members. So on your screens, you will see Ananya Mukherjee-Reed, our Provost and Vice President Academic, Phil Barker, Vice Principal and Associate Vice President Research and Innovation. Rob Einerson is joining us as well, Associate Vice President Finance and Operations. Jill Henderson, Executive Director, Human Resources. Michelle Loudon, who has been serving as interim associate vice presidents of students since January. And there's one person who does need a bit of an introduction, although Lesley did that already in her remarks. We have Dale Mullings, our new associate vice president of students, who started in his role officially just 2 days ago. So thank you, Dale, for jumping right into the deep end and joining us on this this event this morning. So thank you to our panelists for joining us. Just as a reminder, I'd like to welcome you, everyone joining us online this morning, to join the Q&A. You can submit your own questions for Lesley or anyone else on the panel. You just click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You're also welcome to vote for your favorite questions, and we'll do everything we can to tackle as many of the most popular ones as we can over the next 30 minutes or so. But of course, as is traditional in my role as MC, I have a few zingers ready to go just to get the ball rolling. So Lesley, I'm going to start with you. And maybe Jill, you can jump in as well if you'd like. When can staff and faculty expect to return to work on campus, do you think?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The directive remains what the directive has always been, that if you can work from home, you should be working from home. We've seen in the recent days that we are not out of the woods in terms of community contacts, and it really is the case that we will continue to work from home. That said, if there are reasons for research reasons for people to be back on campus, and there is a good parent plan, a safety plan, that faculty and staff will be part of that. But we start from the principle of trying to work from home. That's what I'm doing. Okay, today I'm in my office because my internet isn't working, but I will be working from home. And that's really what we need to be doing. But Jill, do you want to take that further?
I mean, I think you've covered really all the main points there, Lesley. The only other thing I would say is that, as the safe work plans are developed, departments where there is a need to have for specific tasks, people in work, that is identified through the safe work plan with all the kind of parameters around how people can come back and work safely within that context. So there are some areas, I mean, they're fairly limited from an administrative perspective right now, where there are some things that people do need to still come in to do.
Great, thank you very much. Jill, I'm actually going to continue with you, if that's okay, because it's along the same theme, I think. When we do ultimately go back to working on campus, what's it going to be like? Are we going to have to wear masks, for example?
So again, depends on the safe work plan, and of course it depends on the broader context of where we are with this pandemic. So, as managers work through what their needs are and how staff can work safely, I mean, right now the plans focus on is physical distancing and ensuring that we can maintain physical distancing. And if we maintain physical distancing, we don't need to wear masks. But like any situation, if we are in a work environment where we know we're not going to be maintain that 6 foot distance, then yes, we would have to wear masks. But at this point, at this stage, there's no requirement to be wearing masks as you're generally walking around campus or, in your office, as long as, you're not within 6 foot of other people.
Okay,
and I'm just going to jump in to say that we did receive a notice from the president just this last week, which recommends mask wearing anytime that you can't keep the 2 meter distance, but it has not made masks mandatory on campus.
Nathan, can I jump in from the
Yeah.
research side of the house just to make sure everybody understands where we're at with regard to research presumption? I'm sure everybody on the call realizes we went very quickly to research curtailment back in March, and quickly invented a procedure to allow for exemptions from that curtailment to allow people on campus to maintain various essential supplies. But it was really a curtailment of all research activities. And since then, we've gone through 2 phases to try to ease into ensuring that people who need access to research infrastructure on campus to move forward, that their programs have an opportunity to create safe work plans to allow that to proceed. We're now in phase 2 of that plan, so I won't dig into the details, but all of it is available on the VPR website. And all plans are vetted through the committee chaired by Ananya and Shelley that controls access to the various buildings and ensures that various groups are interacting in ways that maintains high level of safety. But there certainly is a capacity to get back on campus to do essential research that requires on-campus resources of various types.
Great, thank you. Rob, I'm actually going to jump to you if I can. We got an email that came in last night, or a question that came in by email last night. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you, what is happening with the downtown Kelowna presence? And more specifically, is COVID going to affect plans for that new building in any way?
It's a great question, and I'm glad it's asked. I'll start off, and Phil can maybe weigh in as well afterwards. So the project for downtown isn't being affected at this point in time by anything COVID related. Properties Trust is taking the lead on that project, as they do with a number of the ones in the Point Grey campus. And as with a lot of long-term capital projects, we're not going to be in that building in the next year to 18 months. It is really a long play. And at the time that the board endorsed moving into that downtown campus, there was an understanding that this is really about the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So Properties Trust is moving very actively. There's meetings that are ongoing on a regular basis. I can assure you of that. And so COVID is not slowing their plans. The development partner who Properties Trust is working with is also moving ahead with their plans. They're actually in more of a hurry than we are. So there's nothing that's wavering in terms of the plans for downtown. What we're doing now is, after we were able to come out from the cloak of secrecy with respect to making the announcement on the project itself, is we're spending some time to make sure that the folks that are going to be moving down there and the academic programming and supports that are necessary to make that a successful location, we're going more broadly to having those dialogues and those conversations to make sure that we get it right. We certainly want to make sure that we are populating that exciting new campus with the willing, and making sure that the kind of forward-facing community type things that the downtown, I think, has been long waiting for us to participate in, are well populated with our faculty and the necessary support staffs.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that, Rob, but thank you. I think Ananya and I will be leading the consultation process on this. This one's a bit unusual, given that it was initial planning occurred under wraps as negotiations with the city were proceeding, but now we're trying to make up for lost time. So we stay on track with the academic programming and then the design aspects of the project.
So last comment, I suppose, is typically the design process takes about 12 months, and it's usually about 2 years for construction. Architect selection has taken place. There's a steering committee that's being put in place. So all of those mechanical things we would see in any project on campus are also taking place on this one.
Great, thank you very much. Dale, I'm gonna pitch one your way, and I think we're all very conscious that this is day 2, I think, or day 3 on the job. But I do wanna ask you a question, give you a chance, maybe a little bit to introduce yourself. And the question is, what are your priorities going to be as you settle into your new role here on campus?
Thank you. So my priorities for the next few months certainly will be to understand the UBCO culture. And truly the only way I can do that is to get out and connect with people virtually or in person where it's possible. So that will require me to be visible, accessible, and to listen as much as possible. And so My team has helped me identify 50 key stakeholders to meet with in the first 4 weeks. I'll be meeting with all of the staff within the student services portfolio to understand our strengths and opportunities. And I'll be making a commitment to our students to be meeting with all 10,000 of our students throughout our year. My job is AVP students, and so I need to be present and understand their experience to better understand how we can support them moving forward. So that's priority number one. 2 will be to support the 2040 plan, and to do that through building strong academic collaborations. So I'll be seeking opportunities to engage with the deans and with faculty to really understand where are we working well together, and what does our future look like in collaboration to support our academic mission. Next will be to further our relationships and building collaborations with the Vancouver campus. So my position has a dotted line report into Vancouver. And so understanding where we can find opportunities to collaborate. Well, I also come from a multi-campus university. So the University of Toronto, I was on our Mississauga campus, which had about 15,000 students, so similar in size. And understanding that there's also a local component and a local approach to a system where we have multiple campuses. And so understanding how to navigate that and build those relationships and trust between our campuses to continue to grow. And then lastly, but probably most importantly, will be to support our staff in offering an exceptional virtual and where necessary. So for an example, when a student needs to see a physician in person student experience over this year as we look to support our students.
That's great. Thank you for the wonderfully fulsome answer and for being willing to stand here with the rest of us, or sit here with the rest of us, and introduce yourself. So I'm going to move to some of the audience questions now. The first one, it's a question that is actually not a question, but it shot right up to the top of the list. This is from Nicole Eugenia, and this is just a congratulations to Adrienne Vidan again. Clearly all of her colleagues agree with this decision, and that one shot right up to the top of the questions list. So let me just reiterate the congratulations to Adrienne. Okay, so going down a little bit now, this is a bit of a long question, so I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, and it's about communication to staff, faculty, and students. So how can we best make sure that everyone on campus, the entire campus community, is aware of the changes that have happened to campus, the updated protocols, access to things like study space, that sort of thing. So how can we make sure that everyone is fully aware of how our campus is going to operate over the next few months? So maybe I'll send that one to, let's see, maybe Michelle on the student side and Nanya on the faculty side, first of all.
Sure, I can answer for what we're doing on the student side. The UBCO Life communication just went out to students yesterday, which is announcing a number of initiatives and how to access those. It's going to answer a lot of questions for students around what are the supports available to them. We saw that yesterday in the students' town hall. They were asking, what are the student services that I could access? What's available to me? How do I do it? So this is important information coming out to students. Around the comment about it being delayed and that students are confused, we know, we're hearing that too, and we're just getting things finalized. We only want to communicate with students when we know exactly what's being offered, when it's being offered, how it's being offered. So that's coming out to students now. I think it's just in time. Our orientation just started this week with Jumpstart. Create starts next week. So as students start online classes, they're getting all of the information possible. And I believe a communication is also coming out fairly quickly from University Relations around informal learning spaces. We just made all of those decisions in the past week around what informal learning spaces students can access on campus safely. So that information, as well as a campus map, will be provided to our students so that they know how to safely come on campus and what's going to be available to them and what's available to book as well.
So first of all, I'll turn the question back to Nathan. We have a great communication team. Nathan is one of them, and we are constantly working together to determine what is the right way to communicate. And you know, we are in a very exceptional situation, so we're trying to find the right balance between not sending you too much communication, but sending you exactly what you need. So one very earnest request is, do read what we send you. Do not press delete. There's a lot of thought that's going, and we are struggling with, you know, not creating communications which will inspire the delete button, but we can't always coordinate all of the announcements just because things are evolving very fast, right? So my newsletter, for example, and I really want to thank my team who puts this together. I want to thank them. In that newsletter, I've tried to focus mostly on faculty and student related changes that and student supports that we're putting out around the issue of pedagogy, teaching, classroom, and so on. And then in the exchange announcements, you get the general announcements about the faculty. And then you get some communications around, and you'll be getting more on that. The resumption committee has a website. And so there are our updated parent plans, all the approved plans, all of them are on that website. So if you have a question, for example, you know, Lesley addressed it at the very beginning. Can I work in my office, right? Well, that's you know, there is a directive that we work from home if we can, but there are conditions under which you can come to work. So those are continuously being, continuously evolving. So the communication that goes out to you is current at the time that goes out to you, and then we are constantly updating. So all of this to say that, you know, we are trying multiple ways of communicating, students, staff, and faculty. And some of these communications are targeted, but the challenge is that all of us actually need all of these communications, right, to get a full picture of what is happening. So just do bear with us, read the communications, and don't be afraid to ask questions. The other thing I would say is, you know, around the faculty student support around pedagogy and online learning, a tremendous amount of work is being done, and that is actually done in the faculties, with the faculties, and in my office, Heather Berenger and her team. So if you are part of the team who are working in the faculties, do make sure that you also communicate to your colleagues. We have a great team of associate deans who are coming together to you know, think about how things, how best to make some changes. So make sure that in your faculty councils, in your departmental councils, in those meetings, you also communicate the changes that you know, because this is a multi-level communication effort we have to be engaged in now. And if you feel that there are specific kinds of communication we are not putting out adequately, please contact any of us and we will get working on that immediately. Long answer, but we really need everybody to be a communicator at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananya. Yeah, and I'll just say I quite like the tagline "Read, don't delete." So maybe we'll put that at the bottom of all of your signatures, Ananya. But I think that's a good point. We do our best to try and get this information out as quickly as we can. We're also trying to coordinate with Vancouver, which adds sometimes a layer of complexity. So you're getting communication not just from the Okanagan campus, but also from Vancouver from the system-wide level. One thing I would encourage everyone to do is to recognize that there isn't a single channel. I mean, we try and tailor our messages using different channels and for different audiences. And I think it's good practice to follow, for example, the student Facebook page, or sorry, the student services social media channels, the media relations social media channels, the campus social media channels, for example, just to get a bit of an overview of everything that's going out. I think that's good practice. So let me just put in a bit of a plug to go out there and follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all of that. Oh, sorry, yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I just very briefly just do a shout out for some of the mental health resource information that's out there too, because we know this has been a stressful time for staff and faculty, and so there are a number of mental health supports available. There's a web page on the UBC web that looks at called Maintaining Mental Health and Wellbeing, that highlights the resources that are available for staff and faculty. And I'd also recommend subscribing to the UBC Healthy UBC newsletter or the Benefits FYI, just to get some more information about what resources are available. Because as well as getting information on different issues, we are very much aware that this has been and is a challenging time for lots of us.
Thank you, Jill. And you preemptively answered a question that was coming up later on. So thank you for that. Okay, I'd like to move on now. This is a question about staying home if you can. So staff and faculty are being asked to stay home where possible. Is that same message going out to students at the same time? Maybe that's a good one for Michelle.
That is a good question. I don't think we are communicating. I mean, we're following provincial health guidelines. And when I was on campus yesterday, there's signs everywhere telling all of us to distance. And I saw almost everybody on campus actually wearing masks yesterday. We're not telling students necessarily to stay home if they can. We're telling students to be safe and guiding them on how to do that. When we're encouraging we're actually not encouraging, we're anticipating our students to be on campus, right? They're already on campus for athletics and recreation, and there's students moving into housing. So we're not encouraging our students to stay off campus explicitly. We're anticipating they'll come to campus, and when they do come to campus, here's how to be safe. And I know that we're getting about 2,000 masks on campus that can be distributed to faculty, staff, and students to encourage them to be safe if they don't have masks. And we're putting other signage up in different areas. So we just want our students, when they choose to come on campus, to be as safe as possible.
Great, thank you. Let's see. I'm going to ask a question about the quality of online education. So Ananya, I know you've been talking for a little bit now, but I think this is an important one. And the question is, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but how do we make sure that the quality of the courses that we're offering are up to par and are meeting student expectations and delivering what they need to for students who are taking them?
So yesterday we held a student town hall, and if some of you may have attended, and if you didn't, we are working on posting the video, and the student town hall video for the first student town hall is already available. And you will see the extent to which our faculty are going, and with some support from my office through Heather Beringer, and also students. So we have a team of faculty, staff, and students who are working on online education and support. And you will see what was very inspiring yesterday is that faculty have not only it's not that they're just trying to offer the in-person courses online, but they're thinking of online courses as a mode of delivery. So how best can I offer an online course? And as some of the professors said, that they're doing certain things that they would not have been able to do in person. And there was particularly a question was raised about a science lab. And there is a professor talking about the chemistry lab, where she explains how they're actually trying to push the boundaries of what could not be done in person. And so in terms of ensuring, the pedagogy, there's a lot of pedagogical innovation going on. There is a word that came up a lot, which was compassion. And when professors are building the online assessment, they are very much keeping in mind the students' new circumstances of learning, the challenges of learning, and also to inspire the student to perform the best within an online platform. So I think the way we are, and in addition to the faculty, I should say, we have students who are functioning as peer mentors and online learning coaches, where we have a student-to-student interaction as well, because I think that's one of the things that students will miss, the interaction with other students. So in all of these different ways, we are trying to ensure the quality of education. And it is the same professors who would have taught the students in person. They are the same professors who are teaching them online, and the same kind of supports. Will it be exactly the same? Well, we are all learning, and there is a great, receptivity to get the student feedback from the first semester or first few weeks to see how things are working, and then to adapt accordingly. So yeah, we're trying in every way we can to make, as I said in the first town hall, to bring the university to the student wherever they are. We're really trying to do that.
Thank you. So we're running out of time, but I'm going to ask one more question. It is one that has come up on the list of questions. This one is, I think we'll go probably to Rob, and perhaps Lesley, you might want to comment on it as well. And that's about university budgets and how COVID-19 is maybe having an impact on our budgets. So Rob or Lesley, do you want to comment on that perhaps?
I can take on that one first.
Okay.
So the Board of Governors did approve an interim budget for us, which we did in July. It was a very unusual year in the sense that we're usually setting those budgets back in April. So it was very important for them to take somewhat of a position so that we can make plans and investments in the current year. So based on that budget, the system-wide was anticipating and projecting a deficit budget, which we received permission from the province to do, as did all the post-secondaries in British Columbia. So the system is anticipating a loss of around $250 million, about $225 to $260 million is what's being projected at this time. That information was based on a lot of modeling that was done fairly early in the year. So more information is coming in every day as students are registering for courses, which has a dramatic impact on that. So at this point in time, that's the working number that we have. A lot of the losses, in particular for ancillary services, both on our campus and in Vancouver, those losses are going to be real. Students aren't going to show up in October or January in all likelihood and pop into our residences given the conditions and given our restrictions. So some of those losses are not insignificant. For student housing hospitality services across both campuses, it's probably around $100 million. And that is all just the spending of money on campus in food service and residences. So the losses are real. In terms of registrations, which maybe Lesley or Ananya can comment on afterwards, the registrations are probably a little stronger than what we had in our models, but there's still a lot of uncertainty with withdrawals for students and anticipating what could happen in the second semester. For our campus specifically, the way we budget, we also budget for a certain amount of capital investments. And so for us, we were budgeting for about a $10 million loss after our capital investments for some research infrastructure that we're doing. That changed by about another $10 million. So after we were projecting a drop in revenue of about 18 million. Through a lot of mitigation strategies that we have in place, we were able to reduce that down to a projection for about an additional COVID loss of about $10 million.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Rob, you've said most of that. I do think that we will find that the projection that went to the board was a pessimistic one, and that it will not be quite as bad as the $250 million that has been projected. But I think that it's right to be pessimistic rather than to be optimistic and then having to come back and say, oh, it was more than that. There will, depending on what this shakes down to be over the next 3 years, there will be some mitigations that both campuses will need to take, and so there may be some cuts that have to happen or things that can't happen as fast to get through this. But as you can tell on our campus, it's a relatively small number, and so I think that we can manage it relatively well.
Okay, thank you very much. So that actually brings us to the end of the Q&A portion of this morning's event. So thank you very much to the panelists for taking the time to chat with us this morning. And thank you for all the brilliant questions that came in from the audience. They were fantastic, so thank you very much.